الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين أما بعد. This is lesson number 15 of our commentary on Qawa'id Attasawuf, Principles of Sufism, by Imam Ahmad Zarruq Abu al-Abbas al-Burnusi rahimahullah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And we continue speaking about what we started last time. So we stopped on section number 5. Section number 5. أهمية المشيخة والصحبة في التربية الروحية. The virtues or the importance of the leadership and in combining in spiritual training. This is the title of this section, although the author didn't give any title, but this is a title that was given by one of the commentators. So therefore, this chapter or this section is going to speak about these things, the sheikh and the sheikh, which is the teacher, and the mates, the friends, and all these types of things, inshallah ta'ala. So therefore, he says, attaching oneself to a principle that is referred to in knowledge and action is necessary to prevent disunion and disintegration. Thus, it is necessary to seek guidance from a sheikh whose adherence to the sunnah has been ascertained, and whose knowledge has been established, so that he may be consulted in regard to what is unacceptable or acceptable. And this, while we receive benefits that are referred directly to the principle he follows. For wisdom is the looked for goal of believer, who is like a honey bee that gathers nectar from every flower and then returns to its own beehive. Otherwise, its honey would be of no benefit. The later day initiates fuqara of Andalusia disagreed among themselves as to whether reading books sufficed to do without sheikhs. So they wrote to various parts of the Islamic world and received answers, each one answering in accordance with his enlightenments. The sum total of the responses revolves around 3 points. The first considers the sheikh books allow one to dispense with the sheikh who gives their theoretical instructions, Sheikh at-Ta'lim, if the reader is an intelligent person who knows the sources of knowledge. Companionship with others allow one to dispense with the sheikh who gives actual spiritual instructions, Sheikh at-Tarbiyah, if the person is religious, intelligent, and sincere. Meeting a sheikh who teaches contemplative ascension Shaykh al-Tariqa, Shaykh al-Tarqiyya, not Tariqa, Shaykh al-Tarqiyya, and being blessed by him allows one to dispense with following him. Getting all of this from a single source is the best of all. The second considers the state of the seeker. The dull-witted man must have a sheikh to guide him. A book suffices the intelligent man in his contemplative ascension. But he is not safe from the depression of his ego, nafs, even though he has reached the goal because of the servants being afflicted by the vision of himself. The third considers spiritual combats, al-mujahadat, devoteness, taqwa, does not need a sheikh to explain or encompass its nature. Whereas righteousness, istiqamah, needs a sheikh to distinguish that which is more pious. The intelligent man can do without him by the use of books and the spiritual combats that leads to illumination, kashf. On the other hand, spiritual ascension requires a sheikh to whom one can turn regarding its revelations in the same manner that the Prophet ﷺ turned to Waraq ibn Nawfal to present to him what came suddenly upon him from God in the beginning of his mission. This last method is close to the first one mentioned above in considering sheikhs, but the sunnah is with both. Okay, let's see, what does this principle speak about? Okay. Now, if scholars spoke about seeking knowledge, you can't seek knowledge by only reading books. And they said you can't learn Holy Quran, memorize it, without a sheikh. So therefore, there is a discussion about improving yourself without having a sheikh. Okay? Because the sheikh would make you go quickly to the grade that you have to reach. And when we speak about Tariq al-Salikin, Manazil al-Salikin means the grades of the ones who are going to God. You can't go from a stage to another except when you have a sheikh, or when you have somebody who helps you do so. So therefore, you need a sheikh so that you don't go lost. You don't scatter your mind. You need a sheikh to summarize the routes. It can take a long time to reach. Well, the sheikh, he makes you reach quickly. And this is even in knowledge. You can keep on losing time reading this book and this book. The sheikh tells you just read this book. And that's enough. You don't have to read all those books. So actually the sheikh has a spiritual rank, and you can reach that rank by following that sheikh. Okay? So therefore, the one who is seeking knowledge and seeking training is like a bee that goes searching here and there. That's why there's no blame on you to seek knowledge from from a lots of shuyukh and seek training from many shuyukh. But in the end, you have to have one sheikh who is the main sheikh that you go to, you trust, etc. And therefore, the Sufis of Andalusia spoke to each other, and they have they argued about: are you supposed to have a sheikh, or you can just keep on reading books, and those books would make you go to a specific rank? So everyone answered according to what he understood. And most on all of these answers that were gained and they came from all specific countries were in these three categories. So he says that they said that if we have to see what sheikh are you speaking about. If it's a sheikh that teaches you, so therefore you can just read a book. You don't have, and especially if you are a knowledgeable person, so you can understand. I mean, actually, you don't have to read every book with a sheikh, but actually, this needs you to have a sheikh in the beginning. When you have a sheikh in the beginning, and he makes you reach a specific rank, then you can go and search and read and take from all types of shuyukh. So therefore, you need a sheikh here that is on the right path. And this is what Sheikh Zarruq said in his other book, Uddat al-Murid Sadiq. He says that this sheikh that teaches you, like the lectures that we're taking right now, he has to have an authentic knowledge, which is found on the book and the Holy Sunnah, and what is right. Number two, he has to be smart and clever, that he can know what is proper to teach right now, what is not proper, what is good to say, what is not good to say, etc. Number three, he has to know how to speak, know language. So therefore, he knows how to express the knowledge that he has. Or else, if he can't speak and he has a problem in his tongue or can't express, he has knowledge, but he can't express it. And you can find people like that. They have a lot of knowledge, but they can't express it. So therefore, in this case, he has to be like that. Okay? So therefore, this is for a sheikh that you need to study knowledge. Says that this sheikh is not, you can read books but actually even that, it's not proper to take all your knowledge only from books, because actually meeting the sheikh there's a secret there. Meeting the sheikh makes a lot and gives a lots of meanings. Now, sheikh that you need to train you. Now these guys say, for a scholar, for knowledge, you can just read books. And for training, you can accompany good guys, good friends. Okay? Now, if you need a sheikh to higher your faith, you can just meet a great guy and sit down with him. So you don't have to be always with him. Okay? So this is the opinion of the first category. The second category, they say, well, this goes back due to the student himself. So if he's stupid, he's stupid, he doesn't have, he's not smart, he needs a sheikh. So the sheikh would hire him. If he reads books, he can't understand it, he gets bored, and he won't do anything, okay? So therefore, if he's smart, now he's smart. Well, you could just read books and that's it. That's fine. But that doesn't make him escape from the problems in his heart. Even if he reaches high ranks, he would still have the problems, which means there are lots of problems. I remember that I had one of my shuyukh. He was a great guy, actually. And I was a teenager in those eras. And I went to him and I asked him. I said, Sheikh, when I sit with so-and-so, who are religious guys and my best friends, but they were so rich, they had beautiful cars and stuff like that. They live in great villas and houses and stuff like that, So they were always, all of them are religious. They follow the Sunnah. We go with each other to school, to lectures. They used to study with me in the same school. I was in that era, nearly 17 years old, something like that. And I told them, when I go with these friends, I feel happy and I feel comfortable. But when I go with others who are from the country, from a lower society, and these from the public and stuff like that, I don't feel that happy, and I don't feel comfortable like the first ones. What did the sheikh tell me? He says, this is a disease in your heart, and you have to search for your heart and search for that, because you have to be the same with these guys and these guys. Why should you be happy with the rich guys, and when you go to the poor guys, you don't feel happy? That means there's a problem in your heart, and you have to search for that. So these are problems in the hearts that you need a sheikh to show you how to get rid of those problems. Now, number 3, it goes due to the things that you're going to use to train yourself. So piety doesn't need a sheikh. When I tell you have to be pious, you don't need a sheikh to make you pious. Don't drink, don't fornicate, don't commit adultery, don't kill, don't steal people's things. All these things make you pious. You don't need a sheikh to do this. So this is for all people. Number 2, to keep on the right path, because you're pious now, but you have to keep on the right path. Here they say you need a sheikh. You need a sheikh, because he would show you what is right, what is wrong, how to do this. But he says you can, if you're smart and you know how to deal with things, you can just read books that would help you and that would keep you fine. Now, if you need to go high, you need a sheikh. Like when the Prophet ﷺ went to Waraqat ibn Nawfal, and when he just had his mission, and he went telling him what to do. He told him, I'm afraid. He said, what happened to you, my nephew? He called him nephew. Yabna akhi. It's a word that Arabs used to use. They don't mean literally that he's your nephew, but he means you're the son of his brother, any brother. So he said, I saw so and so and so and so, so therefore, you know the story. So therefore, he showed the Prophet ﷺ what to do, so they considered that as a sheikh. And this is similar to the previous one. So this is the thing, this is how they understood this and how they interpret it. And when you read this verse, now actually the previous principle had to be here, which is principle number 66. 66. Yeah, 60, no, 65. According to this copy, 65. It had to be here. And in this commentary, it's there. Because it speaks about taking knowledge from scholars, and then they mentioned the scholars who took knowledge from others. It's similar to these principles that are here. Okay? So anyway, okay. Now here, principle number 67 or 67, yeah. The jurist considers a legal opinion by examining its principle, its meaning, and the rule under which is false, and providing either refutation or affirmation unless there is a text that actually deals with the matter. The jurist takes the principles as his focal points, even though the contents, method of what he is considering is correct, so long as there is nothing to contradict it. Therefore, Ibn Habib and other religious leaders accepted in its entirely anything that had a religious principle, as long as there was nothing to oppose the refute it or refute it. They accepted it like all of the obligatory and recommended religious duties and other acts of worship that are optional, as long as they did not clash with the principles of religion and were not acts of innovation, such as the 7-day fast, the reading of Yasin to a dead man, or to claim or to or the claim that groups are superior over individuals because of their multiplicity, and other similar things that as a whole are deemed to be desirable in their principle, while at the same time are barely encouraged in themselves, and so on, as in the Adhkar of Ibn al-Arabi. Principle, okay, now here, okay, here there are things that jurists can accept as long as there is a general case. Okay? Now, the rulings are either rulings that are derived from the Quran and the Sunnah, or the Sunnah, and they might be general rulings. General rulings. So it goes on all its branches. It's general. It's a general case. Unless you have something that specifies it or gives it a specific rule, as we mentioned in the lecture of Usul Fiqh. Now, when you have a text that is derived from, when you have a ruling that is derived from a text that is not something, specific, therefore you can give several opinions about it, because it's not a fixed text. Okay, so for example, it can be understood in this way or be understood in that way, and there's where scholars can differ in their opinions. And therefore, he gave an example of Imam Abdul Malik ibn Habib, who was student of students of Imam Malik. He was in Andalusia, and he was one of the great scholars of the school of Medina. When I speak about school of Medina, I mean the school of Imam Malik rahimahullah. So he says that Ibn Habib and many other Imams accepted things that are part of religion, and there is nothing that is against that. Like many things derived from narrations that are not authentic but not fabricated, they're weak. There are weak narrations, but if you follow it, you're taking something. You're following something that is part of the whole religion. And he gave some examples here, like he says, like fasting the 7 days. What does he mean by fasting the 7 days? He means that there are okay. It means okay, he didn't give the example of these 7 days, but anyway, he gave another example, like reading Yasin on somebody who passed away or is passing away, although the hadith is weak. The hadith is weak. But many people read Yasin because they say it's derived from a weak hadith, and many scholars used to say that weak hadith is better than only an opinion. I mean, making something from your mind, you can follow a weak hadith better than making something from your mind. And like there are narrations that say that as long as people are a lot in the prayer, it's better than praying with two. Although actually the hadith here are authentic, not weak. And in general, he says that there are many cases here that we can derive them from weak hadith. And he says what Ibn Habib says here is said by Imam Abu Bakr al-Arabi rahimahullah about the praising God. Nahwu ibn al-Arabi fil adhkar, which means as long as praising God Almighty can be derived from weak hadith, there's no blame on you to use those hadith because you're doing something, as long as there's nothing that is against, contradicts with it. Okay? Okay. And this is the way of actually great scholars. Because they say that the Sharia is not made to derive it only from the words. Is you derive the whole meaning. The whole meaning. And Imam Zarruq expressed this or spoke about it in other books, in other commentaries. He has lots of books. Okay, principle number 68. Sometimes I think that if I just go reading the general text in Arabic and giving you the meaning only in English as I did right now, it's better than reading the whole text in English. What do you think about reading the whole text in English? Do you benefit from it, or you benefit from what I explain more than that? Because if I just explain without giving you the text, it might not be giving you the whole book as it has to be given. So what do you think about that? Do you agree? Do you like it? Or you prefer this way and that's it? Okay, you can just tell me later so that I can see how to use this. Okay? So principle 68. The traditionist, which is the hadith, considers hadith both as a text and as a contents. If it has been correctly transmitted, He examines the hadith as it comes to him, labeled genuine, sahih, good, Hassan, weak, daif. And if he is careless, not authentic, la mawdu', even though rules for the precise determination have been established. Al-Bilali, rahimahullah, said, transmitting hadith that is inauthentic with the knowledge that it is so is forbidden, except as an example, and following its precepts is absolutely forbidden. Among these are the practices of the special prayer of desire, salatu al-raghaib. The supererogatory prayers specific to each day of the week, salatul usbu', and whatever has been transmitted by Ubay ibn Ka'b is expressing the virtues of the chapters of the Quran, chapter by chapter. The commentators on the Quran have made an error in mentioning him. An-Nawawi, rahimahullah, Ibn Abdussalam, and others, Shafi'is, in addition to the Tartushi of the Maliki school, have all forbidden the practice of the prayer of desire, Salat al-Raghaib. Ibn al-Arabi permitted it, and it is required by that particular school jurisprudence, according to Ibn al-Hajj and others, but God knows best. Okay, this principle is giving more lights on the previous principle. So therefore, he says that the muhaddith, the imam of hadith, the shaykh of hadith, first he spoke about the faqih. Now he's speaking about the muhaddith. What is the muhaddith and what is his job? The muhaddith's job is to see, is the hadith authentic or not authentic? This is his main work. He goes examining the chain, examining the text, and then he says this hadith is authentic, this hadith is weak. Okay, and after that, what? After that, the jurist comes and derives from its meanings. And there's a story here by the Imam by Imam Abu Yusuf al-Qadi, student of Imam Abu Hanifa rahimahullah. He was a great faqih, and he visited Al-A'mash. Al-A'mash was a transmitter, muhaddith, and he wasn't a faqih actually. So Al-A'mash was speaking with Abu Yusuf, and he mentioned the hadith, and then Abu Yusuf started giving him some rulings. So he told him, where did you get these rulings from? He said, from the hadith that you just mentioned to me right now. So he said, subhanallah, you are the doctors and we are the pharmacists. You are the doctors and we are the pharmacists. What does that mean? He means that we are physicians and we are physicians and you are we go not healing people, but curing people and searching for their disease and trying to deal with it. And we go to the pharmacist to get the medicine and give it to them. So the scholars that transmit the hadith are transmitters. They are the pharmacists. And the doctors, physicians, are the ones who derive the healing from medicine, which means the scholars derive the meanings of the hadith from the muhaddithun, right? So therefore, the muhaddith stops when he gives you the end. Is the hadith authentic or good or weak? That's his job. More than that, that's not his job. Or he can tell you that this hadith is a fabricated hadith, so it's not from what the Prophet ﷺ said. Now he has here a sheikh called Al-Bullali, and this sheikh has a summary of Ihya Ulum al-Din, and it was famous in the ancient days, but I don't know, it's not published. I never saw it published. So therefore, what did he say? He says it's forbidden to narrate fabricated narrations, and you know that it's fabricated, unless you are showing people and telling them this hadith is fabricated. So therefore you can mention it. But to say, well, the Prophet ﷺ said so and so, and it's fabricated, that means you're lying. You're lying, actually. So therefore, you're not allowed to narrate it. You're not allowed to act according to it, because it's fabricated. It's nothing. And he says from this is Salatul Raghaib. What is Salatul Raghaib? Salatul Raghaib was a prayer that was made in Jerusalem in the 6th Hijri century, where there's a sheikh came from somewhere, and he came, I think he came from Persia, and he came to Jerusalem, and he learned people this prayer, and that it was in Rajab, and it's a strange prayer. They keep on praying, they keep on saying specific astaghfirullah in the way, etc. So it's a strange prayer. So he says that this prayer is made on a fabricated hadith. So it's haram. You're not allowed to do it because it's fabricated. And he says the same thing about a specific prayer of the week. I don't know this prayer of the week. What is it exactly? And he says the same thing that we can find in some commentator comments on tafasir like Tafsir al-Kashaf, al-Zamakhshari, and others, where they mention the beauty of every surah, the virtues of every surah, from the beginning to the end of the Quran. This was fabricated by a sheikh called Nuh al-Jami', Nuh ibn Abi Maryam. What's the matter with Nuh ibn Abi Maryam? This guy was a Hanafi scholar. Okay? And they discovered that he fabricated this hadith, and they told him, why did you do so? So he says, I did that because I saw people following only fiqh and stuff like that, and they forgot to take care of the Quran. So I lied and fabricated these narrations, but it wasn't lying on the Prophet ﷺ. It's lying for the Prophet ﷺ. You are lying for the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet ﷺ doesn't need you to lie for him. This is a big fat lie. And you are a big fat liar on the Prophet ﷺ. That's why they consider this guy as a liar, and they rejected all of his narrations. So this is type of that. And therefore, he says it was a mistake from all those who mentioned this in their books. Abu Bakr Tartushi rahimahullah mentioned this. Okay, let me just tell you. Now he says that there are great imams that said that this is haram, and you're not allowed to pray this prayer because it's fabricated, like the Imam Nawawi rahimahullah in his commentary on Sahih Muslim. And he says that this is a fabricated and innovated prayer. May Allah curse the one who fabricated the hadith and who fabricated this type of worship, because it's totally considered as an innovation that is wrong. Okay? The same thing by Imam al-Izz ibn Abd al-Salam rahimahullah, who was a great imam of, he was Shafi'i, but subhanallah, he was a great imam, and he had a discussion with whom? With a great other imam, Ibn Salah. And the book is published. It's a small book, which they argue with each other. The Imam Tartush, Imam Ibn Abd Salam says this is haram. Ibn Salah says no, it's permissible. And then everyone gives his evidence about that. Although Ibn Salah was a great Imam. It's so strange, subhanAllah, from Ibn Salah to support this type of prayer. Anyway, he says these are from the Shafi'is. And from our Malikis, we have Imam Abu Bakr Tartushi was a great Imam. He's so strong in Sunnah. He has a book called Al-Bid'ah al-Hawadith, where he says that Abu Muhammad al-Maqdisi told him, I think Abu Muhammad al-Maqdisi, he has to be Al-Imam Ibn Qudama rahimahullah. That's what I expect, because Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi's name is Abdullah Ibn Muhammad Ibn Qudama al-Maqdisi. So he is Abu Muhammad al-Maqdisi al-Jamma'i, yes. What does Imam Abu Muhammad al-Maqdisi say? He says, we didn't have he might be somebody else, I don't know actually. This doesn't need, because he was in Damascus and Allahu Alam. So he says, we didn't have this prayer in Jerusalem, Bayt al-Maqdis. We didn't have this type of prayer that used to be prayed in Rajab and Sha'ban. And the first one who fabricated it was in the year 448. 448. Yeah, that can't happen. Yeah, this is not Abu Muhammad al-Maqdisi ibn Qudama. Ibn Qudama was after that. He passed in 520. And this is 448. No, that's another guy. So therefore he says that's fabricated. They didn't see it in Jerusalem, and then alhamdulillah, this doesn't exist anymore. Nobody prays this type of prayer. It was in the ancient days. The same thing of Ibn al-Arabi. Ibn al-Arabi al-Mu'afiri, Abu Bakr, al-Qadi Abu Bakr al-Arabi al-Mu'afiri, from the judge of Sevilla, and he says, and this fits on the opinions of Ibn al-Hajj al-Abdari, who has his Madkhal. He's a great latest Imam. He was in Cairo. So what does Ibn Hajj? Ibn Hajj condemned this type of these types of prayers and stuff like that, because he condemns things that are less than that. So therefore, to condemn this type of prayer would be something that fits his opinion. Okay, this is what he says. Allahu tabaraka wa ta'ala a'lam. And then he goes to principle number 69, where 69. Ascetic practice is a training for the self, nafs, to imprint upon its virtuous behavior while ridding or while riding it of business. Okay? This is the area of specialization of Sufism. It is best to consult the books of As-Sulami on the subject, because he provides definition of Sufism, a study of it, and a mean of attaining to it, since he constantly refers to it, to its origin, and describes its details. This is in contrast to the Risala of Al-Qushayri, who doesn't do the above, but rather its contents evolve around the stories and minor rules that have no final authorities. It's impossible to follow these two texts as a spiritual method for 3 reasons. First, the lack of discipline in applying the texts come from the turning away of the self, and the lack of discipline in the self is because of the verification of the religion principle is lost. Second, to use these texts as spiritual discipline, suluk, a guide is needed who can be either pious, perceptive brother, or a righteous, realized sheikh who can perceive the blemishes in the self and pinpoints the source of error on confusion. Third, if the sense of well-being occurs in the soul, it's a sense of well-being that comes from the presumption of the soul. It's impossible that it be positive because the self is looking at itself to see what it is going to occur or repel, but the ego is a matter that can not be cast off except through the intermediary of a sheikh. For that reason, the followers of the path have stipulated that the sheikh reside over it, but God knows best. Okay. Now he's speaking here about training yourself. Train yourself to follow he used the word discipline, which means training yourself. So you follow the good morals and you get rid of the bad morals. So therefore, taking this from the books of Abu Abdurrahman Sulami, who was one of the old Sufis, and he has several books about that. It's better because he works good on his books about that. Okay? And he is Abu Abdurrahman Muhammad bin Hussein Sulami Nisaburi al-Azdi. He was a great Imam, Muhaddith, and he was the Imam of Khurasan, all Khurasan. And Khurasan is a great land. From North Iran to Afghanistan, and all this is called Khurasan. Therefore, he is one of the students of Al-Qushayri, by the way. So he is the student of Al-Qushayri and Al-Juwayni and all other Imams, actually. So he has lots of books that speak about Sufism. So he says that these books of Abu Abdurrahman Sulami is good for these guys, for the one who is searching for that. Now he says that the book of Al-Qushayri, which is called Al-Risala, Al-Qushayri is Abu al-Qasim Abdul Karim ibn Hawazin Al-Qushayri, one of the great Sufis in the 5th or 6th era. And he has his book Risala, very important. And he has a very beautiful commentary on the Quran, Lataifu, Al-Isharat, very, very beautiful. So he says that it's difficult to derive these types of morals and manners from his book Risala because it speaks about stories. It doesn't go deep on these types of things. Okay. He says that both these things are a bit difficult to follow. It's difficult to follow because when you don't keep on the right path and you keep training yourself, and you let your nafs, he calls it the ego, when you leave it run away from you again, you can't do anything. Because when you want to train yourself, you have to stand firm on something. Number two, when you are going and trying to train yourself, you need somebody who is better than you to accompany you, or a sheikh to show you the right path and show you what is right, what is wrong, okay? And show you what is not proper to follow. Number 3, if you go and do all these good things and you are on the right path and everything, the last thing is never claim. It's difficult to train yourself so that you don't claim that you are Waliullah and the best guy over the world and stuff like that, where many Sufis did. You can find a lot of Sufis that claim that they are I don't know what, and they start speaking about themselves as great saints, where actually we have to be humble not to speak about ourselves. Okay? And this is something that you can't avoid unless you have a sheikh that trains you, that shows you, that tells you you're wrong, don't do that. And the shuyukh, when they see anything, where are these shuyukh? These are shuyukh. Oh, we lost these shuyukh. But anyway, you can find a sheikh that trains you, that is a good guy, that is on the right path, yeah. Okay. The last principle here, piety, nusuk, is practicing as many virtues as possible without regard to anything else. If one desires realization in that practice, he is a devotee, abid. If one desires to carry out that, what is most prudent, he is a God-fearing man with scrupulous wara'. If he chooses renunciation, seeking inner peace, he is an ascetic, zahid, an ascetic. If he surrenders himself to the divine will, he is agnostic, arif billah. If he mauls himself on someone and is attached to him, he is a novice, murid. Both the Qut and the Ihya have deals with this topic. Qut al-Qulub by Abu Talib al-Makki is the origin of Ihya Ulum al-Din by Imam al-Ghazali. Okay, just put this in your mind. And both of them are published and both of them are good books. I mentioned this before. So therefore, regarding the first work, it's to be considered as a work transmitted, the virtues both in general and the detail by whatever means possible. So long as the virtues, fada'il, don't oppose a tradition of the Prophet ﷺ, contradict a fundamental rule, establish an innovation, set aside a principle, or disregard a legal judgment. The two rights mentioned many subjects and hadiths whose bases are false, such as the prayer of desire and the supererogatory prayers specific to each day of the week. The prayers and invocations that have no authentic source whatsoever, such as the invocations made during the ablution and the like. With regard to all the types mentioned above, they have been made to desire heaven and have had the fear of God instilled in that by the likes of such books, and have shown self-evident signs resulting therefrom, but God knows best. Okay. Okay, now this is the last thing. So he said the ascetic, or not the ascetic actually, the one who worships God a lot, he tries to search for all types of virtues, uh, without searching from do you derive it from. So if he goes searching from where it was from and he follows the right desires, therefore he's considered as a abid. Abid means a worshipper of God. Now, if he takes only things that he's sure and he avoids things that are not, he's not sure, that's called wari'. Wari' means somebody who fears Allah more than he is ordered to. So he goes fearing Allah from things that are not forbidden, but he is considered as a wari'. That's a good thing. Now, if he leaves the whole life and he just thinks about the hereafter and he doesn't think about anything in this life, he's an ascetic, zahid. Now, if he goes with what God wants from him, he's called al-arif billah. He calls him here agnostic. And if he trains himself and follows what he needs to follow, he is considered as a murid. Murid, that means somebody who follows scholars. Says that the Qut al-Qulub and Ihya Ulumuddin spoke about all these types of things, and for the first thing they mentioned a lot of narrations that speak about worships and stuff like that, and they keep on speaking about that even with non-authentic hadith, weak hadith and stuff like that, as long as it doesn't contradict with something that is sunnah or a ruling or whatever. Okay? And it doesn't lead you to make an innovation. And therefore, they mention a lot of fabricated narrations in their books, both of them. And many narrations that are not authentic. And they even mention things that are innovations. Okay, and this is what made many scholars condemn Ihya Ulumuddin especially. Leave it here, inshallah. We'll meet later, inshallah. Bihawlillahi ta'ala. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.